Hello everyone. Today I'm joined by Luke Gilmartin. Luke is a second year Management Science and Information Systems student in Trinity College Dublin. Luke is the head of client projects for D2 Consulting Group and has worked extensively with the ISCG as a consultant, a senior consultant and a project leader. Luke has worked extensively with the ISCG during the summer of 2020 and today we'll be getting Luke's advice on how to develop and sharpen your consulting skills during the summer months. Luke, thanks very much for joining us.
Hi Barry, cheers, thanks so much for having me, and hello to everybody who's watching this.
Brilliant. So Luke, just to start off, you're obviously very actively involved with the ISCG as a whole, but in terms of what you do with D2 Consulting Group, could you just tell us a bit more about what you do as the head of client projects for D2CG?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, the way I view the role as of head of client projects with D2CG is that it breaks down into a few stages in terms of before, during, and after the start of a project. So before the beginning of a project, I'm looking for like startups and say non-profit organizations that we could work with. So the startups, obviously it's great for us to get involved at the ground floor with them. It makes any issues they're going to bring to us much more manageable for student consultants, obviously balancing the work and like say college life balance. And then as well, say the non-profits would give us great exposure as well. And then say like I'd be kind of working or looking at the likes of some startup incubators, the likes of Dogpatch Labs. And what I'm trying to do is just bring in kind of as wide a variety of client projects as possible, just so that anybody who's working at D2CG and then subsequently the ISCG can get just as wide a kind of range of experience as possible. And then during the kind of client project process, I'm working directly with all of our project leads, conducting the interview process. So again, anybody who's signing up for projects in future, you will be meeting me at some stage. And then as well as that, like I'm working with all the project leads to ensure that like the extremely high standards of work that the ICG is known for are being met in every project with regards to how our project leads are interacting with their clients, how they interact with their consultants, how consultants are brought on. So again, I want to get as wide a variety of educational disciplines as possible in, like with regards to the consultants we bring in. I don't think this should be kind of marketed just to business students. Like I'm from a STEM background myself, and I'd love to see other computer science students get involved, art students, anybody with a science background themselves, because like it should be kind of as open to everybody as possible. And then finally, just post-project, I'm still like liaising with with all of our clients just to get as much feedback as possible, anything they feel we could improve on in our process, and then as well just to get an endorsement from them for our own sake with regards to expansion.
Fantastic. And then moving on to, I suppose, the work you've done just with the ISCG as a whole. So you joined the ISCG in your first year of college, I think it was in March of 2020. So I'm just curious as to what exactly drew you to the ISCG.
Yeah, so it was actually my brother's girlfriend was in fourth year of MSIS at the time, and she had already secured work with Bain over in London for when she graduated. And she had said to me that being involved with the Irish Student Consulting Group was just a fantastic way to kind of to stand out among the interview process. Because all of us on the committee and anybody who's going for that line of work will know that management consultancy, like there will be extremely rigorous interview processes for any job you go for. And like as well as that, I wanted to kind of get, like I knew management consultancy was something I was looking at for when I finished up at college. So I wanted just to kind of get fully involved with some kind of work there and make sure that it was for me and that I wasn't kind of jumping the gun when it came to making a decision. And then, yeah, so again, just with regards to the interview process, when you get to that stage, everybody's going to have the results. You know, you kind of, that's basically a given that everybody will have the 2-1, the first, you know, like people are going for these positions. So it's about what experience you have, like what's on your CV that's going to differentiate you from the competition. And for me, like the work that ICG allows students to do was absolutely that differentiating factor.
Fantastic. That's brilliant, Luke. And I think you've kind of summed it up very well there, that it's the ICG and we'll just say D2 Consulting Group as well. They're really, really excellent ways of both developing your skills as a consultant before actually going into consulting, but also kind of, making your application stand out amongst the competition. So I just want to kind of look at, you're a project lead now, so you're kind of in the most senior position one can be in with ISCG projects. But I just want to go back to kind of March and when you were starting out. So could you just kind of give us an insight into where your consulting skills were at when you began, and just maybe what were the specific kind of strengths and weaknesses you had just working on projects?
Yeah, so definitely the strengths would have been few and far between at that stage, which is another reason I'd involve as many people. I'd encourage as many people as possible to get involved with D2 Consulting Group, because you may feel you don't have the skills now, as like most people don't, but it's a great way to develop them ahead of going into, say, like a case interview if you're, again, going for a management consultancy position post-grad. And then, so yeah, like things I would have been okay at were, say, like working well in teams and some basic research skills from college as well. But then, like, again, the weaknesses, like, I wouldn't have known the first thing about, say, how you actually go about this kind of work with regards to, like, taking these massive issues that a client could come to you with and breaking them down into really small, manageable problems that can be achieved then within, or kind of like solved and achieved in a really realistic time frame as well. So, yeah, no, as well as that then, like, so I'd say that all of the projects I've worked on to date have just really helped me to kind of overcome those weaknesses as such and turn them into strengths. Like, now I feel that I have no issue kind of identifying the solutions to these problems that are, or identifying the solutions to the problems that are being brought to us, you know, like breaking things down into really manageable goals, as well as like the roles of senior consultant and project lead have allowed me to develop fantastic leadership experience as well.
Fantastic. So you have seen, I suppose, a very marked improvement on those specific weaknesses since you've started.
Absolutely, yeah. And I feel a shout out should go to Oran McVeigh Keeling, who was the project lead for the second project I worked on. And he was just absolutely brilliant in terms of making sure I understood every aspect and every like step in the process of like how the project is conducted from start to finish with regards to engaging the client, engaging the consultants as well, how you dish out work, how you kind of make sure everybody's kind of keeping on track with the work you've done and the deadlines you've set. So yeah, like he was a massive help, and I'd love to think then the project leads we take on in D2 Consulting Group can do the same for any consultants we bring on. You know, like really help them to improve on those weaknesses.
Fantastic. So you've now spent, I suppose, in and around 9 months working with the ICG, and you've worked kind of across 3 different positions. So are there any kind of standout learnings that you've taken from the cases that you've worked on? And have these maybe kind of affected how you look at a case or how you approach a client project, we'll say?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. No, so again, like I said, and actually a good bit of that comes back to say the resources that ICG and then we as D2CG will provide all of our consultants and our project leads with before a project ever starts. You know, because again, like I was coming into this one now, like working with Legacy Irish Cider, I was thinking, geez, like I'm a bit kind of out of my depth here with regards to how exactly I should conduct the whole project. You know, how I can like break this down into a manageable workload, how I can make sure that everybody's motivated to do the work. But then I read through the project guide that ICG provided me with, and it was a godsend. You know, like it really just made everything very black and white in terms of how you do the work from start to finish. And yeah, it was just fantastic.
Fantastic. And just to go back to what you're doing in college, so you're studying MSIS in Trinity College, while also working on projects with the ICG and your work with D2 Consulting Group. So just in terms of your actual undergraduate degree, would you say that you've had kind of an opportunity to test and maybe utilize some of the learnings you've taken from your management degree and kind of apply to the projects you're working on? Like, do you find that kind of a crossover?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, without a doubt. So, like I said, I would have had some basic enough research skills from, say, first semester and a half in college before I got involved with the ICG. And then, yeah, no, like it absolutely allowed me to hone those skills and then like kind of subsequently apply them to my work again. So the two are kind of feeding into each other in a very helpful way for me, really. So like the skills I developed with the ICG then, and then as other people will develop with D2CG have really kind of allowed me to up the standard of the work I'm doing in college as well. You know, it's a very helpful cycle between the two of them.
Brilliant. And just to kind of close, Luke, just as someone who, like, you know, during those summer months, you are an example of someone who very, I would say, intensely developed those consulting skills over a short space of time, you know, between, we'll say, March and September. You know, as someone who's been developing your skills since March 2020, you know, are there particular books or maybe podcasts you've read that you find helpful that help you in the consulting work you do? Because obviously it's very important during the summer months to try and get as much experience as you can. I'm just wondering, is there anything additional that you listen to or you read to that's helped you in cases?
Yeah, so like if I'm being fully honest, I didn't really start to engage with that kind of stuff until very recently. You know, like I took up the second project. It was right after I finished watching The Wire at the end of first year of college. Then the second project became available and I got involved with that. So I wasn't doing too much of like my own reading, my own listening outside of the project process. And then again, when I sat down to lead this one, all the resources that have been made available, say through the likes of D2CG that like are available to all of our consultants have been a massive help. So the likes of how to ace the case interview, the interview, so the like live stream interview that was done there, the like LinkedIn resources, the CV resources, and like cover letter resources, they've been a phenomenal help to all of us, I think.
Brilliant. Luke, thank you very much for your time. I think you're kind of a very good example of how a D2 Consulting Group member can develop their consulting skills during the summer months. I think the insight that you've shared would be helpful for anyone really who wants to strengthen their kind of consulting work and their consulting skills during the summer months. So thanks very much for your time today, Luke.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks very much for having me on, Barry, and thanks again for listening, guys. I'm looking forward very much to working with all of you in future.
All good.
All right, cool. So today I'm joined by Aoife Doyle. Aoife is a final year best student in Trinity and a committee member of the D2 consulting group. During her time in Trinity, Aoife has interned with both EY and PwC and has been actively involved in both D2 consulting, the ISCG and the SMF. Aoife, thank you very much for joining us.
No bother, it's my pleasure.
So to begin with, you're in final year in BESS. How's that treating you?
It's all right. It's definitely a lot more intense than previous years. I was away for third year BESS, so right. I don't know what third year BESS intensity wise is like in Trinity, but it's definitely a level up on second year and first year. But as we're in lockdown, there isn't really much else for me to be doing, so I have no excuses.
Cool. And what made you pick BESS as a course, as opposed to, other business degrees in Trinity or even other universities?
Yeah, sure. So there was kind of two main things. I actually started out at another degree in UCD and I transferred across. But what the things that stood out about BESS for me, first is the kind of generic one that it's so broad. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I love politics, but I also love business, so there was kind of a bit of everything in there. And then the other kind of main attraction to BESS for me was the study abroad opportunities. I know I wanted to go abroad, but I didn't know where to or for how long. And I knew that I had just so many options with BESS, and that was not going to be an issue. And in addition, I could do keep up my Spanish that I had done for Leaving Cert. So, I had that option to do it in first year and second year as an elective. So that was another big reason to choose BESS.
So absolutely all of the options is what I'm hearing, Aoife. In the this summer past, you were interning for about 5 months with BCG, if my memory serves me correctly. Would you like to talk to us about that?
Yeah, so it wasn't an internship. It was more of a mentorship scheme. Okay. So what that is kind of halfway through the summer, they started advertising this mentorship scheme, and I previously interned with Big Four in Dublin, so I knew a bit about consulting, but not a whole pile, and especially not about the big firms in London. So I was more out of curiosity that I signed up for it. I think the sign up question was something about the kind of application process was something like the future of space or something very, very general kind of question. It wasn't that difficult, so I was like, I may as well. But it's definitely worth it, definitely.
And so could you tell us about what exactly the scheme consisted of, and what were you were up to on the day-to-day?
Yeah, sure. So it consisted of 6 calls with a consultant at BCG. So you were kind of partnered up with a mentor. Most of the mentors were people who had recently joined BCG in the past 2-3 years max, and so kind of had recently been through the application process and knew what it was all about. So you got 6 calls with a consultant, and essentially the consultants were sent, they were all sent the kind of same pack on key things they had to work through with you, and it was all around the application process really, rather than consulting skills. So it was looking at my cover letter, my CV, a lot of casework, kind of just very, very general interview application kind of techniques and whatnot that could be applicable to any firm. But it was also a really big advantage in the BCG application process too.
That sounds like a wonderful scheme. And would you consider that the BCG scheme helped you develop your consulting skills, or as you say, was it more about just the kind of process around becoming a consultant?
It was more the process of becoming a consultant. I definitely got an opportunity to speak to a lot of consultants. The end of the scheme, there was kind of, as I said, there was a few weeks of one-to-one meetings, and then the top kind of mentees were picked to go to kind of an afternoon of fun is what they called it. I don't know if I would call it that. It was very assessment-y. So we got a chance to chat to lots of different consultants there. So that was a huge benefit. And also there was from that afternoon of virtual kind of assessments with BCG, there was I met a lot of other people in final year looking to apply to consulting, And over the past few months, I'm doing a lot of like case prep and interview prep with them. So it was a great way I've been chatting to people across the UK. Some people located in Dubai who go to school in the UK. So I've just been doing case prep with people pretty much from all corners of the world who are all applying to the London office. So that was really cool.
You will be well prepared, I'm sure. So, if outside of the BCG scheme, were there any like books or videos or other sources of media that helped you develop your skills this summer?
Yeah, sure. So in relation to I guess interview prep, first of all, for consulting firms, a great place to start is Case in Point. It's Victor Cheng's book, and it kind of gives you a really good overview, and it's a really good starting point. He works through a lot of different frameworks to base the cases off of, which are fantastic. When you're starting out, they're a great place to start. Obviously, as you do more and more practices, you become less reliant on the frameworks, but it's a really good starting point. Also, like online, there is so many consulting clubs from MBA schools who've done consulting books with cases, so you can access them pretty much online for free. I didn't use any paid resources other than Victor Cheng's book, but there's definitely a lot of other things. Kind of you can like enroll in courses, but I haven't tried any of them. I don't know what they're like. And also Bright Network, they ran lots of different internships over this summer, and one of them was consulting, and they really went through it was like a 3-day event, and it went over a lot of like consulting skills and what it's like to work as a consultant, and there was great opportunities to network with other firms there as well. So Bright Network is definitely something I would look into, and then obviously ISCG, getting that exposure and projects has just been valuable as well.
Absolutely. And speaking of the ISCG, so you are at the stage of your career, so to speak, where you're taking on case interviews, presumably with firms for which you are a prospective employee. And so I was wondering if and in what ways the ISCG has helped you with these case interviews.
Yeah, sure. So I guess the first thing, there's a few different areas. So first of all, there is a mentorship scheme through the ISCG that I'm part of. They kind of geared it towards final year students who will be looking to apply to these firms. So through the ISCG, I was paired with a consultant in Bain, and he helped me just have a look over my cover letter and CV again, and also did some case prep with him. So that was really helpful. Also, the projects I worked on with the ISCG, they're a great talking point in interviews. And a lot of the time, the projects that the ISCG run, they kind of give very quantifiable results. So you can say, we helped them secure this much in funding or grow this much. You can get a number out of it, which is always really good to have on both your CV and to talk about in interviews. And also, it's showing you're taking initiative, you're motivated, you show that you're driven and you're keen to get involved, and you have an opportunity as well to develop skills, and it's another thing you can talk about in your interviews.
Absolutely. And so to finish up, what would be your advice, if any, to students looking to develop their consulting skills over the summer?
Yeah, sure. So I guess when I was finishing third year, I was kind of like, okay, if going into final year, grad applications, gonna need to get my skates on here and start doing something. So threw myself into the ISCG, and obviously now here D2CG on campus, and also got involved in some other societies on campus, such as the SMF. All things which they just look good on your CV, and also they're great things to talk about and show kind of a bit of diversity when you've got talking about the personal experience part of the interview. So definitely just throw yourselves into some societies, and also, as I said, have a look at what Bright Network are doing. I'm sure they'll be doing loads of things over the summer virtually for students across the UK and Ireland, and they'll definitely provide a lot of networking opportunities. I would have a look at the BCG mentorship scheme. I know Bain definitely do one called the True North Scholarship, but it's geared towards females, but I'm sure there are other ones out there as well that I haven't heard of. So definitely look at them. Then if you're kind of, third year, obviously try get bit of internship experience under your belt. Hopefully they're going ahead in person. Yeah, try get your internship experience, and then again, if you're in second year or first year, have a look at the Spring Insight programs. I kind of wasn't on the ball where they were concerned, and I didn't do any of them. But I definitely think they'd be a really good opportunity, even just to get a week in Easter, get a taster for the firm, and a bit of an idea of kind of what you need to do and where you can go with if you want to join the firm. So yeah, that would be my main advice. And also, don't be afraid to like reach out to people, whether that be on LinkedIn or whatnot over the summer. I think I especially towards the end of the summer, messaged a lot of different people, just even via LinkedIn, and just said, hey, doing a bit of case prep. If you're interested in practicing your case, let me know. And people were really, really keen and happy to be involved. So don't be afraid to do that. And one final thing I would say is that if you are going into final year and you are looking to do graduate applications, I would take a week or two before you go back to college. And I know it's not fun, but I would do some cover letters and have them done, because they're so intense, the graduate applications, between like doing all the application processes, and then as you submit them, you're getting emails back to do psychometric tests, and trying to balance that with final year college work can be quite hard. So kind of the last 2 weeks of September before I came up to college, I sat down and just did like even a cover letter every day for firms that I knew I was definitely going to apply to, and it was definitely worth it. Would 100% recommend that.
Well, Aoife, thank you very much for your time today. What you've shared is hugely insightful, and will be of use to any and every student looking to develop their consulting skills and get into the world of consulting. So we really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks, Connor.